Well met, everyone. I am Rich the Lich. Today, we are taking a look at another Fun Fights video. So, let's jump into it. For those that know, we know what's about to go down. For those that do not know, if you have not seen one of my Fun Fight videos already, what I do is I open up D&D Beyond. As you can see here, there are 70 pages of monsters. I have all of the official D&D Beyond content, so I'm assuming here what happens is we have all of the monsters that are currently available in all of the official books. As there are 70 pages, what I will do is I will now pull up a D&D roller, sort of a random dice roller thing, and I'm going to use D100%, and we're going to just roll. I will ignore everything 71% and above. 20. What that tells me is on page 20, we will be looking at a monster. Here we go. Page 20. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 at the Eternal Flame Priest. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. There are 20 monsters on page 20. Convenient numbers. So now I roll a d20. Boom. Number 1. All right, critical fail. Fair enough. The very first monster is an Empyrian. Big task ahead of me here as we are looking at a huge titan with legendary actions and whatnot. So what I'm doing is I'm going to take this monster here. I will now open up Photoshop. I did a print screen so that I can grab his stat block and bring him over. I'm going to open right here. All right. Here we have that. We'll go like this. I'm going to print screen or a copy paste. Let's grab this box. We're going to use the Empyrian here and grab this. Control X, Control V, bring that in, move it over. I'm going to go layer, layer style. This is extra details that are not necessary at all, but they get my mind in the creative space. So I'm going to put a little stroke box around it, make it look really pretty. So this is what we are dealing with. Let's just jump into it. What do we have here? We have an Empyrian. Because it's random, and I don't have any sort of preconceived ideas on what I'm going to be dealing with for the video, I don't know what I'm looking at here other than it's a Titan. It's unaligned, so let's assume we have a heroic campaign. I want my PCs to fight him, so I'm going to make him evil, okay? Let's see if there's anything that stands out to me here. Yes, he's very high CR, obviously, right? But he's got good armor class. He has a lot of hit points. He can fly, he can swim, and he can move normally. Incredible stats, insane amounts of strength and constitution, therefore his saving throws are out of this world. He has true sight. You're not going to be able to get by him with invisibility and things like that. So, as you would expect, CR23, you're going to have sort of those staples. He has innate spell casting. Let's see if there's anything that stands out. So, once per day, Earthquake, that's a big spell. Firestorm, Plane Shift, okay, oh, self only. Greater Resto, Pass Without Trace, Water, okay, nothing there stands out too much. He has legendary resistance. He has legendary action, so that's something we might be able to play with. He has magic resistance, magic weapons, so all of his attacks are magical. The alignment of an Empyrian is chaotic good or neutral evil. Okay, so we're just going to hand wave this and say he's neutral evil. I'm not even going to roll the percentage because I know that I have a heroic campaign. This is the guy that I want to bring to the table. I need to figure out why they would want to fight him. Number one, you know, very easily I can just simply say there's a Titan that's really bad and he's causing some problems throughout the land. So this guy uses a maul. He hits really freaking hard. Really hard. 66 plus 10. If the target is a creature, DC 15 con save or be stunned. Oof, okay. And then range spell attack, he can use a bolt. Ooh, he can use acid, cold, fire, force, lightning, raid. I like that. Okay, I might go off of something with that. 4 legendary actions, he gets an attack. He can bolster all non-hostile creatures. They can't be charmed or frightened. Okay, kind of cool, but I don't want to play off of that. Not a lot of flavor there to me. As we go through this process, you'll notice from the sort of brainstorming point of view, I'm trying to stay very free and not confine anything and see if something just sort of sticks, you know, imagination-wise. And with that, I can run with that and create something fun and cool. A 2-action legendary cost, Trembling Strike. He strikes the ground with his maul, triggering an earth tremor. All other creatures on the ground within 60 feet of the Empyrian must... Do you know Reinhardt from Overwatch? Hammer down! I'm not daring to pull, but right there. Okay, there's my spark. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create this little bit here where I'm going to give myself sort of a checklist, okay? And the checklist is going to give me 2 bullet points. Okay, we have bullet point number 1 and bullet point number 2. We're going to call it Reinhardt, Overwatch. And then I like the, where was it? Not his maul, right here, the bolt. He's got acid, cold, fire, force, lightning, radiant, or thunder. So a different damage type. Damage types for bolt. All right, so Reinhardt, I'm thinking Overwatch, right? What we need is some sort of a place. So there is an object. Okay, it is the equivalent of, if you don't know Overwatch, some of this may not, read too well for you here, but it's all good. I'll kind of explain it anyway. So we've got this sort of, it's the payload, okay? So I don't know what this is necessarily, but there's something important here, okay? So there's something of significance right here, and this Titan is guarding it, and the PCs need to take it out. And if they don't take it out, this Titan is going to continue to run rampant, destroying the world forever and ever. Okay, so I'm now starting to make it look like a car or something, but I don't want it to do that, so whatever. Right, we've got this, whatever the hell it is, it doesn't matter. There's some sort of an object here, okay? Boom. I'm going to leave those out. Okay, so we have this object, and then surrounding his sort of layer is we have this here. We'll come over here, and then right over here is the sort of entrance. There's a large door, archway, double doors, whatever it might be. Now, do you have to noodle this detail, and create it to this level of depth? You know what it does, though, is it keeps me being free, and it keeps me in the creative mode. It keeps me being artsy and, as I just said, creative versus analytical and overthinking everything. I don't want to start stifling some ideas creatively yet. I don't want to get into this logic sense of what does that do mechanically and what are the traps and what's the DC. We're not worrying about that yet, unless that's going to be a component of the combat, okay? So we've got whatever the hell that thing is. It doesn't matter. But that's of significance, okay? We're going to use some red. We'll bring this guy over. And here is our Empyrian. That's the Titan, okay? Boom. There he is. And then we've got the green. Okay, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's say it's a big group. 1, 2, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people. 7 PCs come in the room to take out this Empyrian. He's over here. So I know that, I don't know where it comes from, but I just thought about some pillars. So we've got something going on over here. And then we'll make sure that we kind of label things so that we don't lose track, not just for video purposes. Remember, I would be bringing this to my table, right? I'm going to print this out. I want to use this as the cheat sheet where down here below, I can certainly put, what is that? He's got 313 hit points. I can track his hit points. So as they deal damage to him, right, I can start to track it here. I can say, stunned this round or whatever, that's where I can take my notes. But this is printed out for me, and I have this at the table, so I easily have a nice reference card, so I don't have to look into a book or anything like that. And this also helps when you have like multiple creatures, okay? Because then you can just print out all these little cards and have this sheet ahead of time. So this is just my reference sheet, but this is what I'm bringing with me to the table, so I need to not bog down the pacing of the combat by having to look up things. So I know that these are pillars, okay? I don't know the significance of these pillars yet, what they're going to do, but the Empyrian is sort of in between them. All right, and maybe there's this large archway. Okay, I'm going to kind of color this in. No! Right there. Okay, there's this archway, and the Empyrian is in the middle of it. And what happens is there are these things on the wall. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1. You know what we're going to do is we're going to go like this. It's something significant. So let's do a color we haven't used yet. Let's go purple. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is we're going to go back to black. And I'm going to write, yes, you could, of course, change the colors to make them fit. So the fire would be red, but fire, we have acid, cold, force, acid, cold, force, lightning, radiant, thunder, Thundercats. Ho! Okay, so we have these 7, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, we have 7 different elements that we're dealing with here. Now, that's going to be a sort of environmental thing that these PCs need to deal with. Remember, we're dealing with a legendary CR23 dude. Don't just make the fact that he hits so hard and his legendary actions and he can cast spells. This encounter inherently should be more epic than that. And if you start incorporating environment and timers and all sorts of things, my boy Runehammer, I follow him on Patreon. He's a phenomenal creative individual, DM, all this other good stuff. He's kind of my creative, my muse, if you will. I get so much inspiration and literally just stealing ideas and things like that from him of just how he approaches a fight. If you focus on multiple aspects of an encounter, there's a lot that you can pull from. So what's going to happen is we need to take these things. Okay, so I'm going to take this guy for the sake of video. We're going to move it down here. Okay, when we are dealing with the damage types for the bolt, so every round he shoots an element trigger, let's say. Okay, now what that means is, so he's got 3 legendary actions he can take. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new one right here. Now we're going to say shoot a trigger spot. 1 action. Okay, one of his legendary actions, he can shoot one of these trigger spots. He's going to use this bolt. Uses bolt action first on the spots. Purple points on map. Okay? So, until he shoots a force bolt, because he gets to choose, right? I get to choose Empyrian's choice. Until I use my force bolt on this, my very first action using that bolt, I don't know which one, okay? I might roll a d8 and disregard an 8, so 1 through 7. This would be a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, 6, 7. I'm going to shoot. My first action is going to be shooting this force. And then my second action might be shooting a radiant one here, and then a thunder one here. And once I've done those, I can kind of cross those off, right? So I'll track it as such, or as I just did on the demo, I will track it here. So once I cross these off, I now can shoot the lightning at my PCs, the force at my PCs, but I can't shoot the acid at them yet until I've shot this one first. Now, that gives the PCs sort of each damage type an extra round before he shoots at them, because he's got to shoot these things first. However, what'll happen though is, depending on which one he shoots, it adds, let's keep it d6s. There's a lot of d6s in his damage. It adds 3d6 damage to hammer down. What is that? That's the Reinhardt thing again. So, round 1, remember, he only has 1 action a round, right? He shoots the acid one, right? I rolled the d8 and I got a 1. He shoots the acid one. Round 1, he shoots the acid one. I now have stored that's a d6. I've stored a d6, 3d6 of acid damage. Check. Boom. That's all. You know, he's not doing, what the hell? That's it. He's just shooting things on the wall. Now, of course, thematically, if this is acid, there's this, you know, imagine there's this large, weird, barnacle entity, you know, something that looks like out of Aliens, right? Where all of the Marines were like cocooned. You know, there's this just pus-like whatever, and it's just constantly dripping acid, and that's along the wall. And then over here, there's just a brazier. right? And there's just this fire coming out of it. And he shoots that, you know, because then it gives the PCs something to think about that brings more interest and challenge and intrigue of like, do I need to like turn the brazier over? Do I need to like block it? Do I need to put a wall of force? You know what I mean? It gets them thinking, what the hell do I do with this? This just might be some frozen, you know, crystal, right? You know, whatever it might be over here in the corner. And then the force could be like this. They just feel that happening over here. Lightning, that's pretty simple. There's maybe a small pool of water, and then there's this weird bug kind of chittering around on the wall, and there's this constant just arcs of lightning. Maybe they don't do any damage themselves. Sure, they might inform to the players, don't stand in those hot spots because you're going to get hurt with that element. But you want to leave that ambiguity of like, what does that mean? What's going on with it? All I know is for 7 actions in a row, all he's done is just shot these damn things. But here's the thing. Radiant, of course, there's a big beam coming down from the ceiling, a big golden light. Thunder, you know, there's this constant whatever. Okay? So you have all these different things. He shoots these things with his bolt action. That's what he does. If you get into melee, maybe you have to roll like 50%. 50% to attack in melee versus bolt the purples. That sounds very video gamey, right? Now, of course, I'm going to take these and I would fit them in the bullet points. I'm just, for brevity and like video sake, I'm just throwing it out here wherever. I would list this out a little better and probably just use type tool and font. I'm not going to write it out. So maybe once you engage him, so it's like, dude, he's hit so hard with that maul, stay away from him. But then the PCs are kind of like, if we stay away from him, though, he's going to keep doing this damn bolt stuff. We need to close on him because that at least gives us a 50% chance that he's just going to ignore the bolting of the fire or the purple things, and he's going to hit us with the hammer instead, which is technically the lesser of the two evils, right? But here's what happens. He keeps shooting these elements 7 rounds in a row. Now, remember what I said. Once he shoots the fire to this, he now can choose either to maul a PC or shoot a firebolt at the PCs, right? Because that's fulfilled. Once he's filled them all up. But here's what they do. They stack up. As he shoots this one, he now builds up a force. Check. With, once again, 3d6. And then he shoots the lightning. Check. 3d6. This can get really unwieldy. I'm not trying to balance it yet. What I'm trying to do, though, is this is where my mind wants to go, hence the reason of doing it randomly, of staying creative so I think of something cool, and then I'll get to the analytical side of my brain and figure out how to balance it mechanically. It might just be leaving it as brutal as it is, but upping his challenge rating to a CR 29, which means this might not be an encounter for the current level of my players. This might be something later, okay? So what happens is he stacks these up, and then finally the PCs engage him, and now there's a big problem, right? Now I'm almost like, maybe I up this percentage depending on how many people are there, you know, plus 5%, plus 10% for each PC, to where they're like, okay, we're going to get him to stop shooting these damn things on the wall and let him just do what he wants to do. We're going to engage him. But now he's already built up acid, force, and lightning, each at 3d6. And then the Reinhardt thing, which is what triggered for me the minute I read this thing. The Empyrian strikes the ground with its maul, triggering an earth tremor. All other creatures on the ground within 60 feet of the Empyrian must succeed on a DC 25 strength saving throw or be knocked prone. However, when he does that, also just smashes the hell out of the ground, in the 60 feet, besides being knocked prone, each PC within 60 feet that fails, maybe it's an additional save. Give me the strength save to see if you get knocked prone, as it says, but also give me a dex save, right? Maybe at a lower DC, right? Where if you fail, you take 3d6 acid, 3d6 force, 3d6 lightning. And what'll happen as he chooses, you can see that mechanic now, as he chooses to bolt these things instead of the PCs. And remember, once again, for the third time, once he's shot these things, he can now shoot that element bolt at one of the PCs. But until then, he doesn't. But he doesn't have to. He can keep shooting these to build up 3d6 acid damage. Now, once he builds up acid, he has 3d6. You can't get 66 and 96 acid. But as you can see here, with 7 elements, he can potentially build up 7 different elemental types, which would be 21d6. right? So when he strikes the ground, which is his sort of finishing move or his ultimate move, since we're talking Overwatch, is he uses that Trembling Strike. Remember, as a legendary action, so off turn, he uses that Trembling Strike, and not only do the PCs have to make the dex or the strength saving throw to not be knocked prone, they also need to make a dex save, otherwise they're going to take 3d6 acid, 3d6 force, and just one save. You don't have to save versus all. You either take the 7 elements of damage, or you take half of it, or obviously with a rogue's evasion, you take none of it. You know? But now we've just changed up that whole encounter, but we've also given a lot of effort and sort of attention to these elements. The PCs need to do something about that, because if they're not chunking through his armor and his hit points as he stores these things up, and remember, he can take an action. He makes one attack. As far as I know, these are both attacks. This is just a ranged spell attack. That's a melee weapon attack. So on his action, he shoots the cold one. He's now stored 3d6 cold. A PC goes. As soon as the PC's done, I take one of my 3 legendary actions. I take an attack, which is a bolt. I shoot the fire. I've now stored 3d6 fire. You see where this is going. PC goes, I go. Right? So let's just quickly look at action economy and show you how cool this can be. On my round, he shoots a bolt towards Thunder. On me. So this is on the actual Titans round. He shoots Thunder, the Thunder Crystal. Okay? He stores 3d6 of that damage type. PC goes. Legendary 1. He shoots the Fire Crystal, storing 3d6. PC goes. Legendary 2. He shoots the Radiant Crystal, 3d6. PC goes. Legendary 3. He shoots the Lightning Crystal. Done with legendaries. PC goes. PC goes. We have 7, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Back to the top of the order. On me, he shoots, what do we got left? Let's say cold. 3d6. PC goes. Legendary number 1, which is going to cost me 2 of my actions. He does Trembling Strike. All PCs in 60 feet. He hammers it down. What was it? All other creatures on the ground within 60 feet of the Empyrian, they make a DC 25 strength save, otherwise they fall prone. But I've stored 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is only in a round and a half. Every round and a half, he stores 15d6 of different damage types. You've completely changed the encounter, and what sparked it, which was forced because I had to do this randomly, right? What sparked it is I just always read through and I look for something that sticks. And in this particular case, Trembling Strike stuck for me because I'm thinking Reinhardt, hammer down. That can be devastating. I know it's not a damaging aspect in Overwatch, but it's something that can change the flow or the tide of a battle. If you knock, the support guys off their feet, which allows your teammates to kill you, it's a very powerful ability, right? It's his ultimate. But I added a element because this here is something that makes him stand out, and that's what you want to do with these fun fights, or at least these principles, is take something that sticks out a little bit. Yeah, he's a high CR, so of course he's going to have magic, most likely. He's going to have all the legendary actions and resistance and all that stuff, and he hits really hard. So does a giant. But what makes him interesting is I don't often see 7 damage element types that I can kind of manipulate. There's some significance to that. You know what I mean? There's some reason why he can choose acid or cold or fire or whatever. So play with that in the environment. And now I put it and bundled it all into the Trembling Strike. We have a rather interesting encounter. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about for your table. That's what it's all about for fun fights, is how do I take this thing, twist it, manipulate it, and make it cool, and most importantly, fun. That's all I've got for you folks. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.